This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on rainierAvenueRadio.world.
Welcome to the coronavirus pandemic. I'll take coronavirus for 100. Fever, chills, shortness of breath, loss of taste or smell. What is stay at home and isolate? Correct. Coronavirus for 200. Inability to stay awake, persistent pain or pressure in chest, trouble breathing. What is seek immediate help? Correct.
Coronavirus for 500.
Crippling and potentially dead infectious disease eliminated in the United States with vaccination.
What is the polio vaccine?
Correct.
I'll take coronavirus for 700.
The Daily Double! Should I take the coronavirus vaccine? Wait. Hold up. This is not a game. It's time for serious discussions. We have coronavirus vaccines, but not everyone is comfortable taking them. Here's the facts. Based on what has been proven about vaccines for other diseases, COVID-19 vaccine may help keep you from getting seriously ill, even if you do get the virus. Getting vaccinated also may protect people around, particularly those at greater risk for severe illness from COVID-19. We don't yet have all of the answers. Get informed, talk to your healthcare physician, and make the right decision for you. This is a message supported by the Washington State Department of Health.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not translating the lyrics of Boogie Oogie Oogie for bored Europeans, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio. This is Afternoons with Monique, recording live in Seattle, Washington, every Thursday at 1 p.m.
You're tuned in live to Afternoons with Monique. Your host, Monique Lay, is on her way, so we will entertain you with a little bit of tunes until her arrival. She is scheduled to interview mayoral candidate Colleen Echohawk here, who is running for mayor of the city of Seattle. So until Monique's arrival, enjoy these tunes right here on your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio.
Good afternoon, Seattle. This is Monique Lee with Rainier Avenue Radio, and you are on Afternoons with Monique. Today, I have the pleasure of inviting one of Seattle's foremost leaders, Colleen Echohawk, on my show. Colleen has been a leader in the community for over 2 decades. Colleen has served the most vulnerable people living in the greater Seattle area. And she had sat on multiple boards, including the Seattle Foundation, KUOW, National Public Radio Member Station, Downtown Seattle Association, Pioneer Square Preservation Board, All Home Coordination Board, and was board chair at Red Eagle Soaring Native Youth Theater. Many other qualifications. Without further ado, please help me welcome Miss Colleen Echohawk onto Afternoons with Monique.
Hello.
Hi, Colleen. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
How are we doing in terms of network? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well. I'm
Well,
sorry for running a little late. I had all kinds of circumstances trying to push me down just a minute ago, but I persevered.
Oh, very good. I read your resume and it sounds like a really, really amazing resume. So I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Well,
Now,
thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. You were born and raised where? Tell us a
I
little
was born and raised in rural Alaska. I was born in Fairbanks and raised in this little tiny town called Delta Junction. I have 7 siblings, and we were raised with both my parents and my grandma. And she owned a little motel, and so I grew up in small business, working this little motel with my grandma, saying, "Get out there and clean those rooms, and take care of each other." I love and cherish that I was born in Alaska.
Right.
If you're an Alaskan, you realize like you got to get in there and get the job done yourself. There's not a lot to fall back on. But yeah, born and raised in Alaska, and just cherish, love Alaska so much.
Yeah. So when did you get to Seattle?
I first visited Seattle when I was 16 years old. My aunt at the time was working at the Pike Place Market Senior Center. And I remember being down there. I remember walking down the hill towards Pike Place Market and just seeing like the glorious water and the urban scene, and just felt like, oh my goodness, like this is the best place in the whole world.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. And I told my mom at the time, I was like, listen, I'm moving to Seattle. I'm not going to go to college. I told her I'm going to like just move to Seattle.
Right.
And be
you.
A busker at Pike Place Market.
Yeah. You get in the summer and you think every day is like that. So we hook you, and everyone has been coming here ever since, right?
Well, it hooked me in. And then I moved here in 97. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was going to University of Washington. I was going to community college and thought, well, I can go to community college in Seattle. And I did. I went to Shoreline Community College, and I just fell in love with this place and have been here pretty much ever since. We had like about a year and a half where we moved to Hawaii for a little bit because my husband is from there, but we came back. I love Seattle.
And how long have you been living here now?
For over 22 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for a long time. I was 19 when I moved here, and I'm 45 now.
Wow. So I see you have been on a number of boards, executive director for the Chief Seattle Club. Tell us your journey. How did you get here? Share with your history.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I moved here and kind of, fell into a lot of different work and enjoyed it tremendously. But really, my work was focused on serving some of our community that's been underserved. Seeing the brilliance of Native homeless youth, for instance. I worked with the American Indian Heritage High School and Middle College. That was my first time working with homeless community, and just feeling like, oh my goodness, like these people that I love and serve are so underserved in our community. They're not being noticed and lifted up. So then I started working at the University of Washington. I worked in public health research, working to ensure that, Native people had access to some of these important research that was going on in cancer. And then I became a board member at the board member at Chief Seattle Club. And honestly, I was finishing a master's program at the time, and I just really I didn't really know that was going to be a place that I would land as an executive director. In fact, I was on the hiring committee to find the new executive director, but we were struggling. We found someone and they turned us down. And one of my fellow board members said, "Colleen, is this something you would consider? Would you think about doing this?" And I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about my values. Like, my values are that if you have the skills, if you have the passion, if you have care for the community, then you should step up. So I stepped into the work and fell in love with it. I did that for 7 years until I resigned to run for mayor, and it's been some of the best working years of my life. And I'm so grateful to have served Native people who are experiencing homelessness at the Chief Seattle Club.
Wow. So, during your course of serving the community and with the homeless population, that gave you some experience and some thoughts on how to build Seattle. One of the aspects, I believe, you mentioned on your website. What other aspects of Seattle do you hope to improve?
Oh, so many things. I think that the first thing I would say is that we knew before the pandemic that there were some pretty big disparities, even in a city like Seattle. Like, I think Seattle is the greatest city. We're progressive, we're generous, we're compassionate. But even with and we're a brilliant city too, right? Like, this is a very well-educated city, and we know the data. The data said that, Native babies in the city are more likely to die. Those of us who are from communities of color, we experience higher rates of COVID, of getting COVID, and higher rates of going to the hospital and death from COVID. And there were just so many places. We know that, our Black and Indigenous communities have been pushed out of the Central District, that we are dealing with the impact of gentrification and redlining. And so if we know these things, then we must have a lens of equity that says we will look at that information and that data and address it specifically by empowering the community, by resourcing the community. And so that is the lens that I will bring to this office. I will be a mayor that is focused on equity and racial justice. And the reason I will be focused on that is because I come from that community. I have been on the other side of the table, like, just begging for resources for my community. And so I believe that lens is one of the most important lenses that we can have as we move forward in our city. I've also been working in police reform work for the past 4 years. I've been a community police commissioner. And think that one of the most important things that a mayor will do is hire a chief of police and truly begin implementing further reform into our system. And I look forward to doing that hand in hand with community and with the Community Police Commission, and ensuring that we have true civilian oversight at the Seattle Police Department.
When you're talking about civilian oversight, are you referring to the body of third party, or the body that is a neutral party that will come in and examine police misconduct? What is that called? That group?
The arbitration board, or
no? There's a
Community Police Commission.
No, this is not like the OPA. It's a police oversight group,
Right.
Watchdog group that oversee police misconduct and submit their findings to the government.
That's part of it. We have a pretty complex system that needs to be that needs a lot of work, and part of it is on the Washington state level. I will absolutely. I supported the legislation that happened this past legislative session. I testified in support of it, and will, as mayor, further that legislative agenda as we go forward. But I think when I talk about civilian oversight, I'm also talking about taking what we have created through the consent decree, and strengthening the community's voice, and strengthening the community's impact on our reform work. I think that there is so much work there to do. We have the Community Police Commission, but we also have other community groups that I want to be hearing from. I want their leadership. I want to know what they're thinking and how policing is impacting their communities. And so there's a lot of exciting work ahead of us. This is time for transformational change, and having leadership that's focused on true equity and justice for our community, because we deserve it.
What are your plans to revitalize downtown Seattle? the fact that many former downtown employees will continue to work from home.
Yeah, revitalizing downtown is something that's really exciting for me. I think that we, again, have some pretty new and exciting opportunities ahead of us. We know that there is going to be, new federal dollars that are going to come into downtown. And so we need to be ready for it. I think that as an executive director of a nonprofit, I come with a lot of skills of preparing us for what is coming. And what we need to be ready right now is to be ready for those new dollars and have projects that are ready to ask for the money. Part of it is incubation of new small business.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited about the opportunities for our Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities to get to be ready for some opportunities that are heading our way. I think that downtown, I love downtown. Like I mentioned earlier, I love, the market, and I love our businesses down there, but sometimes it hasn't worked for our communities of color. Sometimes we have seen it being kind of taken over by, tons and tons of business. And I'm a supporter of business. I believe that we have to obviously have business in order for the city to run. But also I think we have opportunity to encourage small business to connect with bigger business and to incubate small business within our communities of color to build generational wealth. So I think that we should be looking at a new vision for downtown that truly incorporates everyone who lives here in Seattle, not just those folks who can afford a really fancy, expensive cocktail. Like it's got to be both. It's got to be a city that can all communities. Absolutely, that's my vision for downtown.
Yeah, but specifically, how would you do that? Are we talking about funding, restructuring? What are some of your ideas?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Funding is going to be a big part of it. The Office of Economic Development, I'm looking forward to getting more dollars into the hands of that community, getting more people ready to help support small business, big business. I look forward to working with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Downtown Seattle Association, and really finding new opportunities for downtown to come back. Some more specific ideas would be new festivals downtown, because we got to get people downtown. Like we got to get people ready to come back. I'm looking forward to continuing to open up some of the streets for more eating and festivities outside, because the pandemic has certainly changed the way we think about eating in restaurants. We also have the opportunity to ensure that, and I just lost my train of thought. Eating outside.
There's performing arts and culture.
Yes.
There's a lot of that has been suspended over the course of the pandemic. I haven't been to the theater in over a year. I miss.
Oh, I'm so with you. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, I just lost your video for a second. But yes, I don't know about you, but I have gone to like Fifth Avenue Theater and Paramount Theater many times over every year.
I love it.
It's such a fun thing. And now I remember what I want to say too, is that we also have to make people feel really safe coming downtown. So we have a plan to have, outreach workers who are downtown welcoming people back into downtown, and also with our public transit. I think that might be something that people might feel a little bit scared about. We need to have strong strategy and communication that public transit is safe to get back on, because as you know, it can be difficult to park downtown. So we want people to get on light rail, to get on the buses, to get on the streetcar, and to come back downtown and enjoy it. Like we have such a vibrant downtown. We're pushing out our arts and culture platform in just a couple of days, and I am so excited about it. I love it so much, and feel like this is like artists have truly brought us through this pandemic, and I want to find ways to support them further as the city moves on.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Get back to the issue of homelessness. Earlier, we touched on that a little bit, but is there the collaboration between King County, the Seattle, and the private entities? Is that working out well, do you think? If not, what more needs to be done to solve this difficult?
I would say that not much is working out well right now for homelessness. Like, let's be honest. It's been 6 years since we declared a state of emergency around homelessness. And homelessness has only gotten more severe. We have thousands and thousands of people who will sleep outside on the streets tonight.
Yeah.
That is a humanitarian crisis. Every day I think about it, I feel for them. And I also feel for the neighborhoods. I feel for the residents of the city. We have talked to hundreds of people now in the campaign. And the number one thing that I hear from people around homelessness is frustration, because they say, listen, I'm a compassionate person. I'm a generous person. I want to support the homeless community, but I am frustrated because I can't use my park. I have to walk over human feces downtown. Like, that is unacceptable.
This Seattle, downtown Seattle had become tent city across from north to south. And what do you plan to do about that?
Oh, we have plans. So I will say that I'm the only candidate who has a proven success rate in actually solving the crisis of homelessness. And that's why I'm running in this and jumping into this race. We have a 22-point plan to bring everyone who's outside inside in 14 months. And that includes, of course, I invite you to look at the plan. I won't go over all 22 points, but the number one thing is we have to treat this like an emergency and find emergency housing for every single person. That could be that will be an all and above approach. Hotel rooms, tiny houses, RV safe lots for cars, more shelters. We have to help find the right solution for every single person out there. And it's going to take a lot of outreach.
Right.
We have planned for 100 new outreach workers. It's going to take a lot of time and people and money because we have let it go for so long. And so getting that settled will be something that I'm so excited about, getting the community involved. And the other thing I want to point out about our plan is that we have a plan for a volunteer corps. Because people want to support this work. People want to get out there. We have people who are retired, who are nurses and social workers and mental health workers. We want to help them, help our homeless community. And the final thing I keep wanting to say more, but one more thing is that we will be led by folks with lived experience. We'll be asking them to show us, like, what is the right way? How can we be active in this work and really show our community that we love our homeless community, and we will fight for them.
How are you? It's a great and ambitious plan. Where are you going to get all the funding for this? Is it going to all come from government? Are you planning to raise funds from private sectors, Amazon, and all the great companies that are around this area?
Yeah. Well, again, it's an all above approach. We will have the jumpstart tax if there's not an appeal that happens on that tax. That's $128 million immediately to put into action. And then we also will be starting what I'm calling a capital campaign. I mean, I have run successful capital campaigns and believe that there are private citizens, that there are foundations, there are people who want to invest in a solution, but they haven't been able to see a plan and a solution. And so we'll be inviting everyone to invest into this work. And then, we got to keep in mind that the reason people have fallen into homelessness is that we don't have affordable housing here in Seattle.
Expensive to live here.
Yeah, so we need to find ways to help our larger business community understand that an investment in affordability is an investment in business, and it's an investment in ensuring that this is a city that everyone can live and prosper in. So if that means I want to be talking to Amazon and talking to the other big businesses, inviting them into our story of racial justice for our community, because if you're a company that put Black Lives Matter on a banner on your company website, then I want to help you understand that Black lives deserve to live in the city. Black people deserve to have affordable housing, and Native people need to have that. Pacific Islander, Asian community, we deserve to have affordable housing. And I want to help people understand the investment that could be made that will impact the city for generations to come.
Absolutely. Now, who has endorsed you in the mayor's race that we should know about?
Well, I'm really happy and proud to say that the King County Young Democrats just endorsed,
Mhm.
which was thrilling to me. They're a really important group. They're the next leaders of the city, and I was very, very honored to receive their endorsement.
Mhm.
You know, we've been a campaign that hasn't really gone after politicians to endorse us. We've wanted the community to endorse us. I haven't asked any politician for an endorsement, but I have asked for community members like Dr. Ben Danielson, who has been a leader for around health equity in this community. That he is. I'm so honored to have his endorsement. Activist and climate justice guru Matt Remley is endorsing our campaign, and just so appreciative of him. Greg Lewis, a Husky legend and leader, a community leader. Michael Bruins, Teresa Fujiwara, like just some amazing community activists and leaders who are ready for a new generation of leadership. And so, very honored to have their endorsements. I feel incredibly humbled by it. This was a humbling, it's such a weird and humbling experience.
Well, you have a lot of great energy, and your enthusiasm is obvious.
Oh.
I feel excited for you. We have only about a minute to go, and I want to ask one last question. If you have to give a couple of most significant accomplishments in terms of homelessness, in terms of revitalizing downtown Seattle, in terms of making Seattle a better place to live, what are those accomplishments that you have been able to do in the last 20 years living here?
Yeah, I think that for me, the number one accomplishment is to build housing. I've been an affordable housing developer, and it's hard work, I'll tell you that. There has very, very few Black, Indigenous, and people color-led organizations that actually build our own housing. That's because of systemic racism. And I had to really like persevere and say, no, we can build housing. I believe in communities of color that they can build housing. And I had to push that and remind people of the capacity that is already inherent in communities of color. What we lack is resources. What we lack is government, letting us actually do it. And so that's one of the most proud accomplishments I have in my history, and I look forward to bringing that perseverance to the city level and truly making this an equitable city.
Well, I'm so glad you could join Afternoons with Monique and me today on Rainier Avenue Radio, Colleen. Your enthusiasm and your plan for the city excite and inspire. So I want to say thank you for coming on my show today. Next off, we have Shattering the Glass Ceiling. So stay tuned for Rainier Avenue Radio at 1:30 p.m. show. Next week, we will have a member of the Vietnamese South Army, Vietnamese Army veteran coming on Afternoons with Monique to talk about the anniversary of South Vietnamese armies who fought alongside with American Army during the Vietnam War. And it'll be my pleasure to have Mr. Trong Pham on. So stay tuned for next week episode at 1 p.m. on Afternoons with Monique. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you so much. Have a